Now on KGW News, what's driving Portland's homeless crisis?
Below that point of stability, and you see havoc.
The key factor, researchers say, is pushing more people onto the streets. Plus, with COVID spread high, will back to school in Oregon mean masking up? But first, justice for a family met with unimaginable loss.
He ruined our daughter and grandson's life. I refuse to let him ruin mine.
Your news starts now.
And we begin tonight with a life sentence in a tragedy one family hopes they can finally put behind them. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Mulco. In the spring of 2019, the bodies of Carissa Fretwell and her 3-year-old son Billy were found in the woods in Yamhill County. More than 3 years later, Billy's father, Michael Wolf, was sentenced to life in prison for their murders. Alma McCarty met with Fretwell's parents, Billy's grandparents, after the sentencing today. And Alma, this has been a long and painful road.
David, Nyla and Kirk Bales tell me while it won't bring their daughter or their grandson back, the life sentence is fitting. Today, they closed a chapter moving forward, no matter how painful this loss still is.
Inside Nyla and Kirk Bales' McMinnville home, there are signs of Carissa Fretwell and her son, Billy, everywhere.
She loved that little guy more than anything.
Pictures and videos remind them of a happier time.
When we had the little guy, we had him quite a bit, and I would just say he ran the house.
Yes, you were. Where'd you get the hat?
He's such a funny boy. I mean, I can say I got 25 years with her. I got 3 years with the little guy that I wouldn't have had it all if they weren't here. You know, those are things I get to keep, memories I get to keep. It's the future ones that I don't get to keep.
Carissa and Billy were last seen on May 13th, 2019. Not long after they were reported missing, the boy's father, Michael Wolf, was arrested and charged with their murders. Carissa had just taken him to court to prove he was Billy's father, and he was ordered to pay child support.
Even without bodies, they felt they had enough evidence to convict him. I think it's still, until they found him, it was just a really numb feeling.
Then, in June 2019, investigators located their bodies in a heavily wooded area. Carissa had been shot in the head. Billy's death was also ruled a homicide.
We're here this morning for sentencing.
3 years later, after pleading guilty to aggravated murder, Wolf was given a life sentence with the possibility of parole after 30 years.
He decided his money was more important than the life of my daughter Carissa and my grandson William.
Nyla and Kirk, along with Carissa's sister Katrina, spoke in court before the sentence was handed down by the judge.
I hope you are reminded daily of why you are in there, and every time you close your eyes you see their faces and it haunts you the way your selfish decisions haunt us.
Wednesday afternoon, the couple reflected on the sentencing.
Closes a chapter and we're able to move forward, and it's been a long 3 years.
He ruined our daughter and grandson's life, and I refuse to let him ruin mine.
In Yamhill County, Alma McCarty, KGW News.
Let's get you caught up on tonight's other headlines now. One of 3 people accused of turning a brawl into a riot back in May 2019 has now been convicted. Today, a jury found Mackenzie Lewis guilty of felony riot charges. This comes after a judge dismissed charges against Joey Gibson and Russell Schultz on Tuesday. The 3 are all affiliated with Patriot Prayer. That's a right-wing group based out of Vancouver. The fight involved Antifa activists outside the former pub Cider Riot. Police have identified the Uber passenger who was shot and killed last night in North Portland. 25-year-old Zamir Bentley was being dropped off along North Terry Street. That's in the Kenton neighborhood. The driver, Josiah Kuehl, was also hit multiple times but is expected to make a full recovery. Kuehl's wife tells us another car pulled up alongside and someone inside started shooting. And another shooting this afternoon in southeast Portland injured one person. This was near 130th and Powell. Several vehicles and buildings were also hit by bullets. The victim was not seriously hurt. No word there on any arrests. Well, thousands of college athletes around the country know the name Brenda Tracy. She is a rape survivor who lives outside Portland and has spent much of the last decade sharing her story publicly. Now she is speaking out again about the long-term effects of her trauma and why she's decided to change the way she reaches out. As Catherine Cook shows us, Tracy's goal is to connect with even more people while also helping herself.
Sharing my story and seeing the effect it had on people was really powerful for me. It made me feel like what I went through was not in vain.
In the last 7 years, rape survivor Brenda Tracy has shared her story publicly more than 200 times. She's spoken at more than 100 college campuses, businesses, and nonprofits. She's worked with 50,000 young men, each time asking them to set the expectation that sexual assault and violence are never okay. And every time she does it, she goes back to the Corvallis night 23 years ago that will haunt her forever.
Revisiting the trauma is the same every time.
I was being assaulted by all 4 men, and as they were taking turns, they were high-fiving each other on their performance.
2 of Tracy's alleged rapists were Oregon State football players. Each received a 1-game suspension. It took Tracy years to share her story publicly, but then she just kept going until 2020.
I think when the pandemic hit and I had to stop and I just had to sit with myself, I realized that I wasn't taking care of myself the way that I should. Like living this close to my trauma every day over and over and over, and not just my trauma, but other people's trauma too. I felt like the world just kind of started to fall on me.
This week, Tracy posted on social media that she's paying more attention to her mental health. She's resumed trauma therapy, and the way she shares her story is changing. Her nonprofit Set the Expectation created an hour-long video of Brenda's presentation, so she'll no longer have to share the most difficult parts in person.
Brenda Tracy uses her powerful story to help men understand the problem of sexual violence.
Schools and other groups can now purchase the video to share. Tracy will still visit schools on location or remotely for expanded education. She hopes to reach more high schools this way, a part of prevention she thinks needs more attention.
We see the grown men, right, that are having issues with domestic violence or sexual violence or whatever. And I always tell people, that doesn't just happen, right? These attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors are cultivated and they start at a younger age. We got to intervene sooner.
Every day, Brenda Tracy finds new strength to keep going and new hope that others will stand with her wherever they are.
We all have the ability to help or harm, and actively, what are we doing every day in our lives? Are we helping or harming? Are we part of the problem or the solution?
Brenda Tracy will make her first post-lockdown trip next week to speak with students at Michigan State University. And she'll visit a high school in Dallas later this month. For more information on requesting an appearance or other resources, we'll post those links on KGW.com. David.
Such an important message. We all need to be part of the solution here. Thank you, Catherine. A coronavirus update tonight after Oregon health officials gave a briefing on 2 viruses spreading in Oregon, COVID and monkeypox. Let us start with COVID. OHA says BA.5, you heard a lot about this. It's now the dominant strain in the state and cases are increasing. Experts, not surprisingly, now recommend wearing masks indoors and in crowded outdoor areas. But a big question a lot of people have, will kids going back to school this fall have to wear masks?
I don't anticipate a return to school in the fall coming with a requirement at the statewide level, but there may be several school districts that continue their mask requirement that was implemented in recent weeks due to this current surge, at least here in the Portland metro area. And so those schools will make their decisions about keeping those requirements into the fall.
And of course, it keeps changing. As for monkeypox, currently in Oregon, there are 32 confirmed cases, all of them involving men. That is up from 6 cases just 2 weeks ago. OHA says right now only people who have been exposed or potentially exposed to the virus are eligible to get vaccinated, and that is because of a limited vaccine supply.